Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Conversations with Black Women in Tech. This is episode 7. So I'm excited about that. Like I always say, I feel like, Black women need to get into the tech space. And we need to all, if we don't get a career in tech, we just need to at least look at the field and see how we can get a piece of the pie. So today, I have a very special guest. I have Miss Tambria Banks.
Hello.
She is a mental health professional. She has 10 years experience working with children and families, and she's transitioning into cybersecurity. So I feel like she would be a perfect guest to come on and talk to you guys about her transition and how she's moving into the tech space and why. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So let's just jump right into it. With you being in the mental health space and dealing with children for so long, 10 plus years, what made you say, hey, I want to check out a tech position, specifically cybersecurity?
So, if we think about it a little bit, we use tech every day, right? But with cybersecurity, it's the other side of it. So, whenever you get that, hey, it's time to update your password, it's time to update your software, I was always the person on the job updating everybody's phones and updating everybody's computers and um, just even helping the kids with their tech. That was always me. And so I started with the little babies, and then now I work up to like college age kids now. And so my transition kind of made me look at in the mental health space, we like to talk about something called the inner child, or we tap in where we may not have been able to experience certain things because we were pushed in a different direction, right? Education was always seen like, oh, you become a teacher, it's great job security. Okay, you go do that. And it's like, okay, well, I'll go do that, right? I did that. And then recently I was like, man, I really like tech. And I've been shying away from it for so long. And I was just like, okay, well, let me reach out to some of my connections, get an idea of the field because I know I didn't want to do UX. I didn't want to do UX design whatsoever. UX, UI, that was not me. And so I was like, I really like cybersecurity. And I saw, okay, there's a push for this. And so when I was in graduate school for clinical mental health and clinical rehabilitation counseling, I have a dual degree in both. Um, Clinical rehab counseling focuses a lot on those who are transitioning into new careers, maybe because they're veterans and they aren't able to work in the same position, or maybe they have a disability and they may be able to do more work, or they may have to move into a less strenuous role. So for me, I was like, well, let me take everything that I've learned and apply it to myself. And that kind of guided my trajectory towards um, cybersecurity, specifically compliance and auditing.
And I see a lot of people talk about transferable skills because a lot of women are like, well, I don't really have any experience,
Mhm.
they may not have a degree. They may have just gotten a certification somewhere and they don't have anything, but people are saying, hey, you have skills from when you were working here,
Yep.
project management skills or whatever. Do you find that just from talking to your network that those things really help you to land a position?
Definitely. I have spoken to a really, really great recruiter, resume writer. Shout out to Kamara. And she just, yeah, I'm gonna give her a shout out on here. And she just talked about me being in mental health and being very personable. And something in the IT field, a lot of people have trouble with is sometimes they're not as personable.
Mhm.
Um, and it's very like binary 0 1 0 1 0 1, and it's like we still need those human interactions even if we're working remotely. So she said, because you have personal, excuse me, you're personable, you have great communication skills, that'll really help you, especially in compliance and auditing, where I have to communicate like, hey, this doesn't look like we're in compliance because of X, Y, and Z. How can
Mhm.
we get there? Or
Right.
this is how we need to get there. And so for me, some of the things specifically in mental health, this even translates from a lot of educators because I see them trying to come over to cybersecurity as well. Some of our greatest transferable skills are like analytical thinking and problem solving. We do that every day. We're trying to
Mhm.
figure out lesson plans, writing up clinical notes. For me specifically, HIPAA, because I deal with medical records. I can't just divulge that information out. So I'm very familiar with HIPAA. Of
Mhm.
course, communication skills, having emotional intelligence, being able to accept criticism and realizing that it's a job
Mhm.
and that my emotions are valid, but the other person may not have been trying to offend me. It's literally just work to them.
Mhm.
Paying attention to detail. There's not a lot of room for error in cybersecurity. It is security. Things are meant to be secure. So I think a lot of times when we say attention to detail, we're thinking like paperwork, which is fine. But we also have to remember attention to detail could also be, are you locking up secure documents? Are
Mhm.
you securing your computer when you're on, like at the airport? Is someone shoulder surfing you? Like, are they
Mhm.
able to see over your shoulder when you're using your computer, even if you're just checking your email? That's enough data for them to hack you,
Mhm.
to get enough information, and a lot of people don't even realize it. And of course, time management,
Mhm.
adaptability, being able to understand that change comes in the digital age, and collaboration.
So, what
Um,
does your where are you at within your journey? Transitioning. Have you
mhm.
already started interviewing for positions? Do you have a position? Where are you at in your journey?
So right now, I'm at the very beginning, and I actually like to share that
Mhm.
because I think it's you kind of get people who are like, "Oh, I got the job. I did this. I did that." I'm
Mhm.
at the very beginning, but I learned to work backwards. Build a strong network first.
Mhm.
Build a very strong network. They will point you in the right direction. People who are already working in the field will tell you this is what these companies are looking for. Not that fluff that they post in all these groups. Like, this is what they're looking for. So whenever I get information, I like to share it because I'm not a gatekeeper.
Mhm.
Um, Literally, I've just been posting on LinkedIn. I had a young professional reach out to me, and they were like, "Hey, here's some information that'll really help you." And we've been cool ever since. They were just telling me like, "Hey, get your security plus if you are going into cybersecurity and you are working for a vendor who has a contract with the government, or you want to work for the government. Security plus is like a must have. It's the standard."
Mhm.
Um, and I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh no, you don't need to get security plus. It's like you got to get more and more and more." And it's like, okay, I have people who have been doing this for years,
Mhm.
years. I have professorships, doctorates that are still very active in the field, and they're like, get security plus,
Mhm.
and you know, we'll help you along the way. You need people who have a voice in a room. Um, because as much as I love career coaches, I really do, they're not in the rooms. They
Mhm.
can't vouch for you. So you
Yeah.
need people who can vouch for you, and that's just a really big thing in
Mhm.
any industry. That's how I got my start in education.
Mhm.
I tell people all the time I got hired. One of the roles I'm in now, I applied that Friday. By Monday, I had the job
But you
because
know what? Your
well,
network really, when people say your network is your
it
network,
is.
that's so true. Like, it'll
It
get you in
is.
rooms that you wouldn't have been able to get in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And even like coaches or consultants and things like that, sometimes they help you skip a couple of steps, because they have information that you wouldn't normally be able to get yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really dope that you said that. We were kind of talking offline just about how important it is to network.
Yes.
And our business is surrounded by our network is semi-large, but we're growing, and we're really trying to get people to understand the importance of helping each other, working together. And I'm big on networking across. Like, everything doesn't have to be I'm trying to reach out to Oprah. It could be
Yes.
the person sitting next to you, and you guys can grow and work together.
Mm-hmm.
um so how do you find like your connections in your network? Like, how do you find these people in the tech space that can help you?
Ooh, okay. So this is what, and this is just me being genuine.
Mhm.
When gosh, I don't know which one of these Facebook groups I'm in. I'm liking a million of them. I post information and say, hey, if you'd like to connect on LinkedIn, here's my information. And people connect with me, and I say thank you for connecting, and then they ask me questions. And then if I'm able to answer them, I'll point them in the right direction. If not, I kind of give them a general scope because of my background in career counseling. Um, if not, I'm like referral here. I don't know. I can't tell you,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
And as far as that, just reaching out, be active on LinkedIn. You
Mhm.
don't have to post 100 times a day, but you have to post something influential other than I'm looking for a job.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, post resources. That's what people are looking for. If you want to learn about PCI, which has to do with like credit cards and security and all that, like look for that. Just type in like PCI and it'll pop up. If you want to go into GRC, which is compliance, you can type that in. It'll pop up. If you want to, what's quals, I believe I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. They have trainings and labs and things on there, and I like to share a lot of that. I share a lot of current events, like the last past data breach that happened
Mhm.
twice.
Yeah.
August and then again in November. Like I post a lot of that. And so it brings a lot of senior level people towards me
Mhm.
because they're like, oh, okay, what's she talking about? Okay,
Right.
okay. And they look at my profile. Now,
Mhm.
whether or not they reach out to me, I know they're looking at my profile.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so that's just one way of doing it. Um, you know, I tell everybody you can get your resume done all you want. You can watch as many interview videos as you want, but you have to get past the recruiter. You have to get past the hiring manager and whatever round of interviews they have for you. And I say this after working in HR and onboarding. I used to work in teacher certification and having to see all of that.
Mhm.
You know, it's more than you just apply. There
Yeah.
are multiple steps, background checks. One young lady was asking about if are they going to run my credit. A lot of companies do,
Mhm.
but a lot of times when they run your credit, it's within a background check. Oftentimes, unless you're not like you're working in fintech or something, they don't really look at it. They just want to make sure you're a credible person.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So that's why I tell people don't lie about your education because if you went to any credible university, it's
Yeah.
gonna pop up whether or not you earn that degree or not. Don't lie about that. Um,
Yeah. And that's
yeah.
something, we could talk about too. People getting bad advice, people wanting to lie on their resumes. And like you were saying, like people going into tech for the wrong reason. Like if you're going into tech just because you're trying to make six figures, because
Yeah.
that's what you see. Because right now that's what the thing is. Six
Mhm.
figures, getting a tech. If you're
Yep.
doing it for that, I don't know how much success you'll have. If you do anything strictly for the money,
Mhm.
you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, because it's no longer the days of. I saw a post where it said it's no longer the days of the IT guys in hoodies in a room that's dark and like
Yeah,
being like the
yeah.
ethical hackers. It's no longer that. Like there's HR involved now. There's like
Mhm.
actual policies and procedures at the international level, things like GPRD, like I'm sorry, GPDR, like all of that. So it's yeah, I don't know.
It's a
I
lot
don't
to
know.
go through. Like I haven't made my transition yet, and I'm still considering it. I think I would like to do something just for myself. Like I'm just an entrepreneur at heart, and I
Yeah.
don't know if I could sit through 13 rounds of interviews. It's a six-person panel
Mhm.
because I think that I would just be like, you know what, I could just do this myself. I'll start my own tech company, and I'm not going to
There
make
you
people
go.
go through that. Like that's just how I am. I just think that that's crazy, but I get it. If you're paying somebody, $150,000 a year, you want to make sure that they can do what they said that they can do. Especially now with a lot of people just getting just certificates or certifications, and not having a lot of experience. So I get it, but Yeah.
Because
So.
I tell anybody, you can study for a test, but if you cannot talk the talk and then learn to walk the walk, it's not going to benefit you because it's like you have these certs, right? Anybody that's been in school from the time you were in kindergarten to high school, technical school, post-secondary education, there were ways that you, when you were much younger, even if you're a later student, older student, there are ways that you study for a test where you're just like, I'm going to study for this test and I'm just going to pass it.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times you do get on the job training.
Mhm.
However, you still have to have at least, I would say, 50% of what, like, you should know what's going on.
Mhm.
So if someone says something like, oh, do you know how to whitelist apps on a Windows operating system? And you're like, what? What does that mean? And they're going to be like, but that's basic security plus. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, very basic. It's in the objectives. And
Yeah.
so they're going to be like, okay, as long as you have that information down and you're able to absorb it, I think it's very beneficial. Um, and just even back to the money aspect, there's no amount of money that's ever going to make you happy.
Mhm.
People say it, but it's not. And six figures comes with a different tax bracket.
Mhm.
We ain't getting into taxes because I'm not an accountant, but I like to tell people that it looks different. You may be used to something, a certain something every year, and then you're like, well, why am I having to pay back X amount in taxes? And it's because you're
Mhm.
in a different tax bracket.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that the average individual that transitions into a new career doesn't last more than 3 years because they don't know how to manage um, their anxiety and their stress when it comes to their job. And
Mhm.
they burn out very easily because they feel like, well, I've capped out, right? And in certain industries, that is a real thing.
Yeah.
Um, I'll say in mental health, in my position, I've hit the ceiling where I'm at right now.
Mhm.
And that's just due to a bunch of different like laws and things. Like I can't do anything about that. That's at the state level. I can't do anything about that. But for tech, you're really not bound by anything.
Mhm.
You learn as you go. But definitely, I tell people don't let the money lead you because it's like, okay, wow, I'm making $45,000 now, and now I got an offer for $86,000. Okay, is it the full 86,000, or are they giving you stock options? Have you negotiated leave? Are you getting PTO? Is it unlimited PTO?
Yeah.
All of these like HR questions people don't know how to ask. So I said, it sounds good, but know what you're walking into and understand that if you're going to spend all your money on these certs, at least enjoy what you do.
And then people have to understand too that like once you transition into like you are in your dream position, you're getting that money, you might have a micromanager or the company might be known for,
Yep.
not treating their employees well. Like you really have to research these companies and not just jump on the first thing that sounds good because of the money. I've
Yep.
read so many horror stories. They're not getting trained. They're expecting you to just come in and know how to work the system. So it's important to take the time to research those things as well.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any resources that you could share for people who want to get into cybersecurity? Like, where could they go to get the training?
Ooh, where do I start? Okay. So we're going to start at the university level because I hear a lot of people saying, I want to go back to school. I want to go back to school. WGU, Western Governor University, this is not an ad, but they are one of the top like schools that people go to as far as getting into cybersecurity. They have a bachelor's level program and master's level program, and it is basically it's performance based, I believe, and basically you complete it at your own pace.
Mhm.
And by the time you complete your bachelor's, I believe you finish out with like 14 certs. So basically, you
Wow.
pass the cert exam, you pass the class. Yeah,
Wow.
it's still college. You still got to do work.
Yeah.
Um, that's just one. IQ4. You have to type in IQ4, type in their Tech Boost program. That's one resource where they focus on NIST. Um, if I use a lot of acronyms, it's on purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not even to be funny because in cybersecurity, there are a lot of acronyms and you are expected to know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
To an extent. Um, Dion training, he has really good trainings on Udemy. Um, Professor Messer, and they both offer voucher codes for, voucher discounts for pretty much most of the CompTIA exams. Oh gosh, what is it? ISC2, I believe, and it's like an intro to cybersecurity. But that's where you can get the CISSP certificate, which could lead to management, and they have an HISSP one too, I believe, and that's for like healthcare. Um, Gosh, top of my head, apprenticeships, Microsoft, Apparenti. Um, right now, the Department of Labor has so much money that they are putting out
Mm-hmm.
for just tech right now, specifically cybersecurity, and just about every role. Um, I believe Boeing. Oh gosh, what is I can't think of the name of it right now, but it'll come to me. Um, but there's just think of like any big name tech place right now. IBM, they have an
Mm-hmm.
apprenticeship program. I had a military spouse reach out to me. I said, hey, like look into this. You may have to call someone. I think picking up the phone is really hard for a
Yeah.
lot of people. I'm like, no, call these people. Like, and they'll give you the information. Um,
How do you feel about the certification programs? Like somebody who has no experience in tech, they don't have a degree, they go on, Udemy or Coursera and they complete the whole certification. Do you think that's enough for them to be able to successfully transition into a tech role?
no. And I'm gonna be very transparent. It's good for learning, um, but I always tell everybody to look at the job description. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
you want to do, product management, tech sales, um, any of the roles, compliance, auditing, legal, any of that. Look at what they're looking for. And for women, for whatever reason, we feel that we have to meet 100% of the requirements. Absolutely not. Read
Yeah.
some of them and apply anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just do it. I mean, they're looking at the resume to be like, are you a good fit for our company?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Your resume look good. Let's interview you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I would definitely say, depending on what you want to get into, I would go with the major ones like CompTIA. Um, what's the other ones? I'm probably gonna get this all wrong. ISC2. IBM has theirs. There's a couple of credentialing bodies, but I think it's good to get practice. Everybody has experience with tech. If
Mm-hmm.
you've gotten on any Facebook group, Twitter thread, Instagram post, you have experience in tech. You've logged into a system, you've accessed credentials, you've approved whether or not that you accepted cookies, you've gone through security prompts. Like we do these things every day. It's just how we package it.
Right.
So any job that you, even if you've been a cashier, you've used tech before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, so for as far as the classes, I definitely say stick to the job descriptions.
Right.
Look at the majority of what they say. A lot of people want to become CISOs, and I'm like, okay, you can do that, but understand you have to meet you can pass the exam, but like there's other requirements, and
So
there
it'll
are
probably benefit people to take the time
mhm,
to start looking at now. Like even, while you're on your journey, whatever certification
mhm,
program you're in, if you start looking at job descriptions, you'll get an idea of what they're looking for. Because a lot of times it might say, bachelor's degree or this amount of experience. I know some of the
mhm,
programs they give you projects to do. So if you want to contact Miss Banks. She is on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
She's willing to share her resources, so make sure you check her out. You can find me at bestiesmedia.com. And I just thank you so much for being on the show. I hope you guys took some notes and wrote down those resources. I'll be doing a recap just in case you missed it. But get in the tech, black girls. Get in the tech. It's not all about coding, as you can see. So, do you have
Yeah.
any last words for our women watching? Amen.
Remember, I have a couple of words. A couple of words. Remember that you are the prize. You were always the prize, and that we are needed. We are in demand. And remember, it was a black woman that got us into space.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, we got this. Take your time, and you build these relationships, and you got it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Again, make sure you hit her up if you have any questions or need any resources, and I will see you again next Friday. Bye.
Bye.